Chapter 3. Alan Taylor shows off like nobody's fat business. The following afternoon, Polly met her good friend Friday O'Leary at the bottom of Boasters Hill, and together they set off for Alan Taylor's house. For some reason, Friday was coated from head to foot in pomegranate seeds. However, Polly knew better than to ask questions, for Friday's ways were deep and mysterious.
"It's just one of his credible wisdoms, I expects,"
thought Polly, and she was right, for as they climbed the hill, the birds of the air swooped down and pecked away the seeds. By the time they reached the top, not a single one remained. The seeds would decorate their nests and guard against cuckoos, nodded Friday wisely as the last chaffinch flew off. "'Tis nature's way." But then he saw the huge white mansion sparkling in the sunshine, and his eyes exploded in amazement. "The truth is a lemon meringue," he shouted, as he sometimes liked to do. "It's massive." At that, Alan Taylor ran out to greet them, his delicious face flushed with excitement. "Polly," he laughed, throwing money at her, "and this must be your friend Friday O'Leary." For you see, Friday was wearing a t-shirt which said, "My name is Friday O'Leary, I'm Polly's friend." "But where are my manners?" said the little host. "You must be hungry after your long walk." He snapped his fingers, and at once a servant scuttled out of the house, holding a silver tray of sandwiches. Really, really posh ones. But there was no time to eat them, because Alan Taylor snapped his fingers again, and a sports car appeared. "Hop in," shouted Alan Taylor, and the next thing you know, the car zoomed into the mansion. Yep, seriously, just right in through the front door. Round the rooms the car whizzed, smashing up Chinese vases and knocking over antique furniture. Fa-toing! They ran over a grandfather clock, killing it instantly. "Don't worry," Alan Taylor laughed. "I'm so rich I can easily afford another one."
"Why," thought Polly, "he's just like a little kid showing off. Why don't he just do proper trusts in people instead of trying to impress them?"
But the little biscuit was snapping his fingers once more. "To the Allen-copter," he cried, bundling Polly and Friday into a helicopter which stood in the dining room. He fired it up, and out they flew, smashing straight through a stained glass window. Over the hillside they soared faster and faster until Polly's head was spinning like a daffodil. Alan Taylor was an absolutely rubbish pilot, and he kept nearly hitting trees and peregrine falcons, so everyone, including himself, was secretly relieved when he brought the Allen-copter back down, making a perfect landing in a fish pond. Out they all climbed, dizzy and exhausted.
"Please, sir," began Polly weakly, "can I get a glass of what—"
But Alan Taylor was dancing around like a biscuit possessed. "No time," he cried. "Look, the party's about to start." And turning around, Polly saw funfair rides, lots and lots of them, dotted all over the hillside. And there were stripy tents, and lights in the trees, and the smell of candy floss, it was in the air, so it was. And down below, waiting excitedly at the bottom of the hill, was a tremendous crowd. Nearly all the townsfolk had turned up. Jonathan Ripples was eating a tub of margarine, and Martin Laundrette was there too, writing in his red notebook. Beanie McLeany, who loved things that rhymed, was doing a showbiz quiz on a girl named Liz. A little girl called Peter was there with her dad, whose name was Rachel, and there were hundreds of others besides. Hundreds, I tell you. Alan Taylor snapped his fingers, and all at once the sky was ablaze with fireworks, soaring and fizzing overhead. "Hooray for the biscuit billionaire!" roared the crowd, and they ran up the hill to join the party. Well, what larks! You should have been there. The jugglers juggled, the clowns clowned, and the toilet cleaners cleaned the toilets. Fire-eaters ate fire, water-drinkers drank water, and a lion put his head in the mouth of a lion-tamer. In one corner, a fat man displayed his amazing belly for all to see. It wasn't part of the show. It was just Jonathan Ripples because his shirt had shrunk in the wash. "Let's try the ghost train, Polly," grinned Alan Taylor. "There's real ghosts in there."
"Yippee!" cried Polly. "I wants to see a ghost ever so much."
"There be no such things as ghosts," said Friday scornfully. "It all be fool talk, lock, stock and barrel. That's what it all be, and nowt else. These bands and wafts and boghosts and bargets and bogles and all anent them is only fit to set bairns and dizzy women a bewildering, and they nowt be but air blebs." Alan Taylor and Polly stood staring at him, their eyes wide open.
Friday," said Polly eventually. "What are you on about?"
"Dunno," Friday shrugged, climbing onto the ghost train, but it sounded good. So after all that, Polly finally got to meet some ghosts, and they were very friendly. One of them gave her some new shoes, and Friday made friends with a tiny phantom called Pickles, and got its email address. picklestheghost@notveryalive.com. And after that, Polly went on the fastest roller coaster in the world, so fast that you couldn't even remember if you'd been on it or not. Your only proof was that you could hardly walk afterwards, and you were covered in your own sick. Meanwhile, Jonathan Ripples had eaten one burger too many, and his stomach was groaning like a shipwreck. "I think I'd better lie down," he said unhappily. He staggered out of the food tent, lay down on the hillside, and closed his eyes. No sooner had he done so than Martin Laundrette ran up and stuck a sign by his head which said, "Ride the Bouncy Castle."
Look,
exclaimed the little kid excitedly,
a new ride.
and within seconds there were tons of little kids jumping up and down on Jonathan Ripples, screaming and laughing as they played in the flab. Martin Laundrette was hiding in a nearby bush. "Ha ha," he wrote in his red notebook, "my best trick yet, turning Ripples into a fairground attraction." But Martin Laundrette's trick was no way the worst thing that happened on Boasters Hill that night. There was much worse stuff about to happen, believe you me.